The most feared female warrior in the stars came to Earth to find me. The fallen star, the emergency alert pierced through Maya Chen's sleep at 2:47 a.m. Her workstation sensors had detected an atmospheric breach, something large entering Earth's stratosphere at impossible speeds. She bolted upright in her small apartment above the coastal research facility, her heart hammering as she pulled on clothes and rushed to the observation deck. Through the panoramic windows, she watched a streak of violet fire tear across the black canvas of night. The object wasn't following any controlled descent pattern. It was crashing. Maya's fingers flew across her terminal, calculating the trajectory. Her stomach dropped. Impact zone less than 2 kilometers north, in the rocky cove beyond the lighthouse. She grabbed her emergency kit and sprinted to her all-terrain vehicle, the ocean wind whipping her dark hair as she raced along the coastal road. This was insane. She was a marine biologist and acoustic researcher, not a first responder. But the nearest authorities were 40 minutes away, and whatever had just crashed might not have that long. The crash site glowed like a dying star. A spacecraft, if she could call it that, lay embedded in the sand and rocks, its hull a patchwork of advanced metals she couldn't identify. Portions still radiated heat, hissing as ocean spray touched them. The vessel's design was organic, almost flowing, like someone had frozen liquid mercury mid-movement. Maya approached cautiously, her medical scanner held before her like a shield. The ship's side had been torn open, whether from the crash or before it, she couldn't tell. Inside, emergency lighting pulsed weakly, casting purple shadows across. She gasped. A figure lay crumpled against the far wall. Humanoid, but distinctly not human, the being's skin held a deep purple hue, luminescent in the strange light. She was tall, easily 6.5 feet, with an athletic, powerful build visible even in her injured state. Her armor, once clearly magnificent, now bore scorch marks and deep gouges. "Hello?" Maya called out, her voice trembling. "Can you hear me?" The figure's eyes opened, startling silver like twin moons. They focused on Maya with an intensity that made her breath catch. The alien woman tried to speak, grimaced in pain, then tried again. "Please." The word came out accented, stilted, but unmistakably English. "Help. Me." Every instinct told Maya to run, to call the authorities, to let someone else handle this impossible situation. Instead, she climbed into the wreckage and knelt beside the wounded stranger. Her scanner revealed multiple injuries: broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe burns. Without immediate treatment, this being would die. "I'm Maya. I'm going to help you, but I need to move you. Can you walk?" The alien warrior gripped Maya's shoulder with surprising gentleness. Despite the pain clearly etched across her striking features, something like wonder flickered in those silver eyes. "Your voice," she whispered, each word an effort. "It's really you. I found you." Maya had no idea what that meant, but there was no time for questions. She wrapped the alien's arm around her shoulders, struggling under the considerable weight, and began the agonizing journey back to her facility. The warrior, for that's clearly what she was, drifted in and out of consciousness, murmuring words in languages Maya had never heard. By the time they reached the research station's medical bay, dawn was breaking over the Pacific. Maya sealed the doors and activated the privacy protocols she'd never expected to use. As she worked to stabilize her impossible patient, using a combination of human medicine and her best guesses about alien physiology, the warrior's silver eyes opened once more. "My name is Zephyra," she managed. "I crossed the entire galaxy to find you, Maya Chen." Maya's hands froze over the medical equipment. "How do you know my name?" A faint smile crossed Zephyra's lips before unconsciousness claimed her again. Outside, the sun rose on a world that had no idea one of its inhabitants had just become the center of an impossible cosmic love story. It echoes across the void for 3 days. Zephyra drifted between consciousness and fever dreams. Maya worked tirelessly. Her research station transformed into an improvised alien medical ward. She'd called in sick to her university, claiming a family emergency, not entirely untrue, given how her life had been turned upside down. On the 4th morning, Maya entered the medical bay with fresh bandages and found Zephyra sitting upright, her purple skin no longer pale with shock. The warrior's silver eyes tracked her movements with alert precision. "You should be resting," Maya said, trying to sound authoritative despite her racing pulse. "I've rested enough." Zephyra's voice was stronger now, rich and melodic. You saved my life. Among my people, that creates a debt of honor. I don't want a debt. I want answers. Maya set down her supplies and crossed her arms. How do you know my name? Why did you come here? Zephyra was silent for a long moment, her gaze distant. When she finally spoke, her words carried the weight of confession. 3 years ago, my fleet was patrolling the Outer Rim territories. We intercepted a strange transmission, weak but persistent. It was your research logs. Maya's mind raced back. 3 years ago, she'd been part of an experimental deep space communication project, sending acoustic research data into the void. The project had been deemed a failure when no one responded. You heard my recordings? But those were just scientific observations, whale songs, ocean data. No. Zephyra stood slowly, her full height impressive even in recovery. She moved to the window overlooking the ocean. There was one file, marked as personal notes. You were speaking about why you chose to study the songs of Earth's creatures. Maya's breath caught. She remembered that recording. A late night, a bottle of wine, her speaking freely about finding meaning and understanding how different beings communicate across vast distances, about connection being the most fundamental need of any conscious creature. You said, Zephyra continued, her voice softer now, that even in the darkest depths of your ocean, creatures sing to each other, that no one is meant to exist in silence, that there is beauty in reaching out, even when you don't know if anyone will answer. I was drunk and philosophical, Maya whispered. It was just rambling. Zephyra turned and Maya saw something vulnerable in those silver eyes. I was born on a war moon, trained from childhood to command, to conquer, to never question. By the time I heard your voice, I had spent 28 years in battle. I had won 17 campaigns. I was called the Violet Storm. She paused, and I was completely hollow inside. The warrior moved closer and Maya found herself frozen, caught between fear and fascination. Zephyra was stunning. Alien, yes, but there was something in her features that transcended species. The sharp angles of her face, the way emotion played across her expression, the barely contained intensity. Your voice haunted me, Zephyra said. Every battle, every victory, I heard your words. You spoke of connection, of meaning, of choosing to understand rather than conquer. No one had ever taught me those concepts. I listened to that recording 10,000 times. Maya's scientific mind struggled with the implications. So you, what? Abandoned your entire life based on a drunken audio journal? A hint of a smile touched Zephyra's lips. My second-in-command Vex said I'd gone mad. Perhaps I had, but I could not continue as I was. Your words showed me there was another way to exist. I needed to find the person who understood what I had been missing. That's insane, Maya breathed, but her heart was thundering for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. Yes, Zephyra agreed simply. She reached out slowly, telegraphing her movement, and gently touched Maya's cheek. Her palm was warm, her touch surprisingly tender. But here I am, and you are even more remarkable than your voice suggested. Maya should have stepped back, should have maintained professional distance. Instead, she found herself leaning into that touch, her eyes closing for just a moment. When she opened them, Zephyra was studying her with an expression of wonder. On my world, the warrior said quietly, we have a saying, the heart knows what the mind refuses. I crossed the galaxy without knowing what I would find. But the moment I saw you in my ship, heard your voice offering help instead of fear, I knew. Knew what? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. That some connections transcend distance, transcend species, transcend everything we think we know about how the universe works. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Then Maya's comm unit beeped urgently. She stepped back, breaking the spell, and checked the message. Her face went pale. What is it? Zephyra asked, immediately alert. Satellite surveillance picked up your crash. A military team is being dispatched. They'll be here in 6 hours. Maya looked up, fear flooding her features. Zephyra, if they find you, then we have 6 hours, Zephyra said calmly, to decide what happens next. But first, Maya-chan, show me your world. If I'm to make Earth my sanctuary, I should understand why you love it so much. Against every rational thought, Maya nodded. She had a feeling those 6 hours would change everything. Learning to be human, Maya led Zephyra down a hidden path that wound through coastal rocks to her private beach, a small crescent of sand she'd discovered years ago. The morning sun painted the water in shades of gold and turquoise. Zephyra stood at the edge, her purple skin luminous in the natural light. And for the first time since meeting her, Maya saw the warrior truly relax. "We don't have oceans like this," Zephyra said softly. "Not on the war moon where I was raised. Water was rationed, controlled. I'd only seen seas on worlds we conquered, and never had time to appreciate them." "Take off your boots," Maya suggested. "Feel the sand." Zephyra raised an eyebrow but complied. When her bare feet touched the sand, she gasped softly. "It's warm alive." Maya couldn't help but smile. "It's just sand. But yes, it holds heat from the sun. Come on." She took Zephyra's hand, noting how perfectly their fingers interlaced despite their differences, and led her to the water's edge. The first wave that washed over their feet made Zephyra laugh, a sound of pure delight that transformed her entire face. "It moves. It's playful." Zephyra's wonder was childlike, infectious. For the next hour, Maya taught Zephyra about tides and currents, about the moon's pull on Earth's waters. They collected shells, and Zephyra marveled at each one, holding them up to the light as if they were precious gems. In those moments, she wasn't a feared warrior. She was simply someone discovering beauty for the first time. "May I show you something?" Zephyra asked suddenly. Without waiting for an answer, she began to move, a series of flowing, graceful motions that were clearly martial forms, but performed with such elegance they resembled dance. Her body moved with perfect control, each position flowing into the next. It was mesmerizing. When she finished, slightly breathless, she found Maya staring. "That was beautiful," Maya said honestly. "What is it?" "The 17 forms of stillness. Every warrior learns them, but most treat them as mere exercise." Zephyra moved closer. "They're meant to teach us that true strength comes from balance, from knowing when not to strike. I never understood that until I heard your voice speaking about harmony." She extended her hand. "Will you learn with me?" Maya hesitated, then placed her hand in Zephyra's. The warrior guided her through the basic positions, standing behind her to adjust her posture. Zephyra's hands on her waist directing her movements felt electric. Maya's breath shortened, and not from exertion. "You're a natural," Zephyra murmured, her breath warm against Maya's ear. "You have excellent body awareness. Years of diving," Maya managed. "You learn to be conscious of every movement underwater." They continued the forms, and the physical lesson became something else, a conversation in touch and movement. When Zephyra guided Maya into a turn, they ended up face to face, mere inches apart. The warrior's silver eyes searched hers. "Maya," she whispered. "May I?" Maya closed the distance, pressing her lips to Zephyra's in a kiss that felt like falling and flying simultaneously. Zephyra responded with gentle intensity, one hand cradling the back of Maya's head, the other at her waist, pulling her closer. The kiss deepened, tender yet passionate, and when they finally broke apart, both were trembling. "I've never," Zephyra started, then laughed softly. "I've commanded fleets, but I don't know how to do this." "Me neither," Maya admitted, her hands resting on Zephyra's shoulders. "I've been married to my research for years." "This is unexpected, unwanted." There was vulnerability in Zephyra's voice. "No. Terrifying, impossible, probably insane, but not unwanted." They spent the afternoon in Maya's apartment above the research station. Maya played music, everything from classical to contemporary, watching Zephyra's reactions. The warrior was particularly moved by a piece featuring whale song mixed with orchestra. "They really do sing," Zephyra breathed, wonder in her voice. "Just like you said. Want to hear them in person?" Maya pulled up her research recordings, and soon the room filled with the haunting melodies of humpback whales. Zephyra closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her, and when she opened them, they were bright with unshed tears. "What is it?" Maya asked gently. "On the war moon we were taught that might makes meaning. That strength is purpose." Zephyra's voice cracked slightly. "But these creatures singing to each other across vast distances, finding each other in darkness, this is what I was missing. Connection, beauty, purpose beyond conquest." Maya moved to sit beside her on the couch. Zephyra pulled her close, and they stayed like that, listening to whale songs as the afternoon light shifted across the room. Zephyra's fingers traced gentle patterns on Maya's arm, and Maya rested her head against the warrior's shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, faster than human, but just as real. "Tell me about your world," Maya said softly. Not the war moon. Where you're from originally. Zephora was quiet for a long moment. I don't remember it. I was taken as a child, identified as having warrior potential. That's how the Stellar Dominion operates. They harvest children from conquered worlds, remake them into weapons. Her arms tightened around Maya. I don't even remember my birth name. Maya turned to look up at her. Then we'll make new memories. Better ones. Starting now. She kissed Zephora again, slower this time, pouring everything she couldn't say into the gesture. Acceptance, desire, promise. Zephora responded with matching tenderness, and when they finally pulled apart, she pressed her forehead to Maya's. I chose well, Zephora whispered. When I crossed the stars to find you. The moment was shattered by Maya's comm unit screaming an alert. They broke apart as Maya grabbed the device, her face draining of color. They're here. Early. The military is 3 kilometers out. Zephora stood immediately, the warrior returning to her eyes, but she kept one hand on Maya's shoulder, protective. Then it's time to face them. Together? Maya took a deep breath and nodded. Together. As they prepared for the confrontation ahead, neither noticed the second signal on Maya's scanner, a ship entering orbit, bearing the insignia of the Stellar Dominion. Commander Vex had arrived to retrieve their Empire's greatest weapon, and he had no intention of leaving empty-handed. Shadows of the past. The military convoy arrived with thunderous precision, 3 armored vehicles and a helicopter circling overhead. Maya stood at the entrance to her research station, Zephora slightly behind her, both women tense with anticipation. Major Sarah Reeves emerged from the lead vehicle, flanked by armed soldiers, her expression a mixture of curiosity and caution. Dr. Chen, Reeves called out, her hand resting on her sidearm. We detected an unauthorized extraterrestrial landing. We're here to secure the site and any passengers. Major Reeves. Maya stepped forward, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. Before you do anything, you need to understand she's not a threat. She came here seeking sanctuary, not conflict. Reeves's eyes shifted to Zephora, widening slightly at the sight of the purple-skinned warrior. I'll determine the threat level. Ma'am, I need you to step away from Dr. Chen and— No. Zephora's voice cut through the air like a blade. She moved to stand beside Maya, protective but not aggressive. I will not be separated from her. I mean no harm to your world, but I will defend Maya Chen with my life if necessary. The soldiers raised their weapons. Maya's breath caught. But before the situation could escalate, a new sound split the air, a deep thrumming pulse that made everyone's teeth ache. A shadow fell across the beach as a massive ship materialized overhead, its design sleek and predatory. Zephora's expression hardened. Vex! A beam of light shot down from the ship and a figure materialized in the sand, tall, imposing, with crimson skin and armor that seemed to absorb light. Commander Vex's face was angular and severe, his eyes burning amber. Behind him, 3 more figures materialized, their armor marking them as elite Dominion hunters. General Zephora. Vex's voice resonated with authority and disappointment. 3 years we've searched. 3 years the Dominion has been without its greatest weapon. This ends now. Major Reeves had turned her attention to the new threat, her soldiers forming a defensive perimeter. This is Earth territory. You have no jurisdiction here. Vex barely glanced at her. Your primitive weapons are irrelevant, human. I'm here for the general, not for conquest. His eyes locked on Zephora. The Supreme Commander offers amnesty. Return to your post and this aberration will be forgotten. I'm not going back, Zephora said quietly but with absolute conviction. She stepped forward, placing herself fully between the Dominion forces and Maya. I resigned my commission. I renounce my titles. I choose Earth. I choose her. Vex's expression twisted with something between rage and anguish. You choose this? A primitive world and a fragile human over everything we built together? Over me? Maya's heart clenched at the raw emotion in his voice. This wasn't just about duty. Vex had feelings for Zephora. I never asked you to love me, Vex, Zephora said, her tone gentle but firm. You were my brother in arms, my friend. But I was dying inside and you refused to see it. The Dominion took everything from us, our homes, our choices, our humanity. Maya gave me something no one else could, hope for a different life. Then you leave me no choice. Vex's hand moved to his weapon. If I cannot bring you back as a general, I'll bring you back as a prisoner. Hunters, take her. Everything happened at once. The three Dominion hunters lunged forward with inhuman speed. Zafara pushed Maya behind her and met the first attacker, their collision sending shockwaves through the sand. The military opened fire, but their bullets deflected harmlessly off the hunters' energy shields. Zafara moved like liquid lightning, her warrior training evident in every precise strike. She disarmed one hunter, using his own momentum to send him crashing into the research station wall. But she was still recovering from her injuries, and the others pressed their advantage. Maya watched in horror as Zafara took a hit that would have killed a human, staggering but staying upright. Without thinking, Maya grabbed a salvaged piece of equipment from Zafara's crashed ship, something that looked like it might be a weapon, and fired. A pulse of violet energy shot out, striking one of the hunters and disrupting his shield. "Maya, no!" Zafara's cry came too late. Vex had already locked onto the new threat. The commander moved with terrifying speed, appearing before Maya in an instant. His hand closed around her throat, lifting her off the ground. "You dare attack a Dominion officer? Perhaps I should demonstrate to the general what happens to those who interfere." Zafara's roar of rage was primal. She moved faster than Maya had seen, slamming into Vex with enough force to shake the ground. They tumbled together, and when they rose, Zafara's eyes blazed with protective fury. "You will not touch her." Each word dripped with deadly promise. "Vex, we've been friends for 15 years. Don't make me kill you." "You're not the killer you used to be," Vex snarled, but there was pain in his eyes. "She's made you weak." "No." Zafara's stance shifted into something ancient and deadly, a fighting form Maya hadn't seen before. "She's made me remember what I'm truly capable of. I was never just a weapon, Vex, I was a person, and I'm choosing to be one again." The fight that followed was brutal and beautiful. Zafara and Vex had clearly trained together, each knowing the other's moves instinctively. But where Vex fought with rage and betrayal, Zafara fought with purpose, to protect, not to conquer. Maya, meanwhile, had grabbed Major Reeves. "Your weapons won't work against them, but I might be able to disrupt their ship's shields from my research station." "I need 2 minutes." Reeves assessed quickly and nodded. "You heard her. Cover Dr. Chen." As the military provided suppressing fire, more distraction than damage, Maya raced into her station. Her hands flew over the controls, adapting her acoustic equipment into a weapon. The same technology that let her communicate with whales could be modified to emit a frequency that would destabilize Dominion shield harmonics. Outside, Zafara was tiring. She'd defeated the three hunters, but Vex was her equal in skill. They stood facing each other, both breathing hard. "You could have ruled the galaxy," Vex said, his voice breaking. "We could have ruled together." "I don't want to rule," Zafara replied. "I want to live." "There's a difference." Vex's expression crumpled for just a moment before hardening again. "Then you leave me no choice." He raised his hand to signal his ship for orbital bombardment. A piercing frequency suddenly filled the air. The Dominion ship's shields flickered and died. Major Reeves immediately radioed for air support. Within seconds, Earth's defense jets were screaming overhead, weapons locked on the now vulnerable alien vessel. "Stand down," Reeves commanded Vex, her voice carrying absolute authority. "Your shields are gone. You're outgunned. Leave peacefully, or we'll show you what primitive humans can do when protecting their own." Vex looked between the jets, his disabled ship, and Zafara. The fight drained from his posture. "You really choose this? A short life with this human over immortality among the stars?" Zafara walked over to Maya, who had emerged from the station. She took the human's hand, interlacing their fingers. "Every moment with her is worth more than eternity without purpose. Go home, Vex, find your own meaning. Stop living for the Dominion and start living for yourself." For a long moment, Vex stood silent. Then slowly he touched his fist to his chest. A Dominion salute of respect. "You were the greatest of us, Zafara. I hope she's worth it." "She is," Zafara said simply. Vex and his hunters dematerialized. Moments later, the Dominion ship powered up and vanished into the atmosphere. Major Reeves lowered her weapon and turned to Maya and Zafara. "Dr. Chen, we need to have a very long conversation about what just happened. And you," she looked at Zafara, "just became Earth's most interesting person. But first, thank you. You could have destroyed my team, but you showed restraint." Zafara nodded wearily. "I'm tired of destruction, Major. I just want peace." As the military began securing the area, Maya led Zafara back toward the research station. The warrior was limping slightly, her earlier injuries aggravated by the fight. Once inside, Maya's professional mask crumbled and tears streamed down her face. "You could have died," she choked out. "Vex could have killed you and I—" Zephyra pulled her into a fierce embrace. "But he didn't. We're both here. We're both alive." She pulled back enough to look into Maya's eyes. "You saved me today, again, not just my life but my choice. My freedom." Maya kissed her desperately, pouring all her fear and relief and love into the gesture. Zephyra responded with matching intensity, and for a long moment, nothing else mattered but the feel of each other, alive and together. When they finally broke apart, Zephyra whispered, "What happens now?" Maya managed a shaky laugh. "Now? Now you become the most famous refugee in human history. We'll have to deal with governments, scientists, media. Everything's about to get very complicated." "As long as I face it with you," Zephyra said, pressing her forehead to Maya's, "I can handle anything." Outside, dawn was breaking over the Pacific again, but this time it rose on a world that knew it wasn't alone, and on two souls who had found each other across impossible distances. A new home among the stars. 3 months had passed since what the media had dubbed the Pacific Incident. Maya's small research station had become the center of unprecedented international attention. The existence of intelligent alien life had been confirmed, and Zephyra, after weeks of negotiations, interviews, and political posturing, had been granted asylum by a coalition of Earth nations. Now, on a quiet evening, Maya and Zephyra stood on their private beach, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. Zephyra had changed in subtle ways. Her posture was more relaxed, her smiles came easier, and the haunted look that had shadowed her eyes was gradually fading. "I heard from the university today," Maya said, leaning against Zephyra's side. "They're offering us joint positions, a new department focused on interspecies communication and cultural exchange." Zephyra's arm wrapped around Maya's waist. "Us? You mean they want me to teach?" "You have knowledge no one else on Earth possesses. Languages, cultures, star navigation." Maya grinned. "Plus, I think Dr. Patterson wants to pick your brain about Dominion propulsion systems." "Dr. Patterson wants to weaponize my knowledge," Zephyra corrected, but there was amusement in her voice. "I've already told him 3 times that I won't help Earth build warships. He's persistent." Maya turned in Zephyra's arms to face her. "But seriously, would you be interested? We could live here, work together, maybe even get that boat you've been eyeing for whale watching." Zephyra's expression softened. "Maya-chan, are you asking me to build a life with you?" "I'm asking if you want to. No pressure. I know this is all still new for you, and if you need space or time—" Zephyra silenced her with a kiss, deep and passionate, her hands cradling Maya's face with infinite tenderness. When they parted, both were breathless. "I crossed an entire galaxy to find you," Zephyra murmured. "I don't need space. I need you." They stood together as the sun dipped below the horizon, the first stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Zephyra pointed toward a constellation Maya didn't recognize. "That's where the Dominion's core worlds are," the warrior said quietly. "I used to think those stars were my home. But home isn't a place, is it? It's wherever you feel like you can finally stop running." Maya squeezed her hand. "Have you stopped running?" "Yes." Zephyra brought Maya's hand to her lips, kissing her knuckles gently. "Here with you, I'm finally home." Later that night, in Maya's apartment, now their apartment, they lay together in bed, the windows open to let in the sound of waves. Zephyra traced lazy patterns on Maya's bare shoulder, her touch reverent. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Maya murmured sleepily. Zephyra was quiet for a moment. "When I first heard your recording, I cried. I had forgotten how to cry. It had been beaten out of me as a child. But your words about connection, about reaching out into darkness hoping someone would answer, I wept for hours. I thought I was broken." Maya rolled over to face her, cupping her cheek. "You weren't broken. You were waking up because of you." Zephyra's silver eyes shimmered in the moonlight. "In my culture, when a warrior finds someone who saves them, who gives them purpose beyond battle, we have a word for it, Shariva. It means the song that guides you home. You are my Shariva." Maya-chan, tears pricked Maya's eyes. "I don't have a fancy alien word for what you are to me." But I know that before you crashed into my life, I was going through the motions, existing, not living. You reminded me that there's more to life than just observing it. Sometimes you have to dive in, even when it's terrifying. They kissed again, slow and deep, the kind of kiss that spoke of forever. Zafira pulled Maya closer, and they made love with the patience of those who knew they had time. Tender and passionate, exploring each other with wonder and care. Afterwards, wrapped in each other's arms, Maya spoke softly into the darkness. Do you ever regret it? Leaving your empire, your power, everything you knew? Not for a single second, Zafira replied without hesitation. I conquered 17 star systems, commanded fleets of thousands, had entire civilizations bow before me. But none of it made me feel as alive as one morning watching you laugh at seagulls, or listening to you explain why coral reefs matter, or holding you like this. She pressed a kiss to Maya's temple. I was powerful, but I was empty. You filled all those hollow places with meaning, with love. I'd give up 1,000 empires for one lifetime with you. Maya's tears fell freely now, happy and overwhelming. I love you. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I don't care. I love you. And I love you, Zafira whispered back, her own voice thick with emotion. In every language I know, across all the worlds I've seen, I have never found words adequate to describe what I feel for you. But this, love, it's the closest translation. They fell asleep like that. Two beings from different worlds who had found something universal. The need to be known, to be seen, to be loved completely. The next morning brought new beginnings. Over breakfast they made plans. The university positions, the whale-watching boat, maybe even a trip inland so Zafira could experience mountains and forests. Major Reeves had become an unexpected ally, helping navigate the complex politics of harboring an alien refugee. Dr. Patterson continued his persistent attempts to extract military secrets, which Zafira deflected with diplomatic grace. But there were also challenges. Some governments remained suspicious. Fringe groups alternated between worshipping Zafira as a deity and demanding her deportation. The media scrutiny was relentless. Through it all, Maya and Zafira faced each obstacle together, their bond growing stronger with each test. One afternoon, 6 months after Zafira's arrival, they were installing equipment on their new research vessel when Maya's phone rang. It was Major Reeves. Dr. Chen, we've received a transmission from space. It's addressed to General Zafira. They rushed to the military facility where Reeves played the message. Vex's face appeared on the screen, but he looked different, less rigid, almost peaceful. Zafira, the recording said, I wanted you to know. I've resigned my commission. You were right. The Dominion took everything from us, including our ability to choose our own paths. I'm exploring the outer territories now, not as a conqueror, but as... I don't know what yet, but I'm finding out. He paused. Thank you for showing me there was another way. Be well, old friend. The message ended. Zafira stood still for a long moment, then smiled. A genuine, joyful smile. He's free, she whispered. He finally chose himself. Maya took her hand. You did that. You showed him it was possible. No, Zafira corrected gently. You did that by showing me first. As they left the facility and drove back to their coastal home, Zafira was uncharacteristically quiet. When they arrived, she led Maya down to the beach to the spot where they'd first kissed. Maya Chen, Zafira said formally, dropping to one knee in the sand. In my culture, warriors don't marry. We're not taught about partnerships built on choice rather than strategy. But I've learned from you that the greatest strength comes from choosing who you stand with. She pulled out a small object, a pendant made from a piece of her crashed ship's hull, polished and shaped into a spiral that resembled a seashell. I don't have a ring, and I don't know your human customs perfectly, but I know my heart. Will you accept me as your partner, your equal, your love, for however long our lives allow? Maya was crying and laughing simultaneously. Yes, absolutely yes. She pulled Zafira up and kissed her fiercely. Though just so you know, in human culture, this means you're stuck with me forever. Forever sounds perfect, Zafira murmured against her lips. Though it still won't be long enough. They stood together as night fell, holding each other beneath the stars. One of those stars was Zafira's former empire, distant and irrelevant now. The rest were simply beautiful, points of light in the darkness, no different from the bioluminescent plankton that began to glow in the waves at their feet. I used to think the stars were destinations, Zephyra said softly. Places to conquer, territories to claim. But now I understand they're just lights showing us how vast and beautiful the universe is. And the most beautiful thing I found wasn't on a distant world. It was here on this small blue planet in a woman brave enough to help a stranger. Maya rested her head against Zephyra's chest, listening to the rhythm of her alien heart. You know what the funny thing is? I spent years sending messages into space hoping for connection. And the universe answered by sending me you. Then we're both lucky, Zephyra said, because I sent my own kind of message, a warrior's desperate hope that there was more to existence than endless battle. And the universe answered with you. They walked back to their home hand in hand, two souls from different worlds who had found something that transcended space and species. Love, pure and simple. Behind them, the ocean sang its eternal song. Above them, the stars watched in silent approval. And ahead of them stretched a lifetime of mornings and sunsets, of discoveries and quiet moments, of challenges faced together and victories shared. Zephyra had conquered planets, but Maya had conquered her heart, and in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. As they reached their door, Zephyra paused and looked back at the night sky one last time. I conquered worlds, she said softly, echoing words from long ago. But you conquered me, and I've never been happier to surrender. Maya smiled and pulled her inside into warmth and light and home. The door closed behind them, sealing off the past and opening onto a future neither had dared imagine, but both would cherish for every day they had together. The warrior who had crossed the stars had finally found what she'd been searching for all along. Not glory or power or conquest, but simply this, a hand to hold, a heart that understood, and a love that made the vast universe feel intimate and knowable, and in a small coastal town on Earth, beneath skies that held both familiar constellations and distant empires, two souls rested in each other's arms. Proof that the greatest distances could be crossed not by ships or weapons, but by something far more powerful. The courage to reach out and the grace to accept the hand that reaches back.